Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and Thursday night football action this week. We got the 5-8 Chargers going up against the 5-8 Raiders in Las Vegas. For those that do not know, we will be live, and we're going to be having a wild time like we usually do on Thursday night. However, it's going to be a little bit more of like a normal Raiders watch party. So hit that subscribe button, join on in, and guess what? If you're subscribed and you tune into the Raiders Report, you got a chance to win a signed Davante Adams jersey, JSA certified, signed by Davante Adams himself. I'll tell you what, whether you want to watch the Raiders win, lose, I don't care what it is, that's enough reason for you to join the Raiders Report on Thursday. So coming up here on today's show, we're going to be looking at 5 keys to victory for the Silver and Black. And it's not on offense and defense. I'm just going to be laying out 5 keys to victory. And then the biggest Raiders rumors before Thursday Night Football. Is Josh Jacobs playing? Is Maxx Crosby playing? What's the offensive line going to look like? I'm going to answer all those questions here on the Raiders Report. So my honest question here, and this is where I think I want the nation to answer this one, and I want you to be honest with me, because I don't even know why I do this show if you're not going to be honest. I don't know why I even ask these questions if you're not going to be honest with me. Do you want the Raiders to win, or you want them to tank? Do you want the Raiders to win this game and try to make the playoffs? Or are you like, nope, every win that happens from here on out just hurts the Raiders' chances at getting a quarterback? Win or tank? Let me know down below. My answer on this, because I've been asked maybe a million times this week, I will never root for the Raiders to tank. You got players that make way too much money to tank. However, this is me being honest with you. I want the Raiders to either win their next 4 games, or I want the Raiders to lose their next 4 games, because that's either you win 4, you're in the playoffs. If you lose 4, then you're going to have the highest pick possible to get your franchise quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I would love for the Raiders to beat the Chargers. I'd love for the Raiders to end the Chiefs' hopes. I would love for the Raiders to knock out the Broncos in the playoffs. But I am looking long-term, and I am looking for what's best here for the Raiders. That's how I would answer that question. So next up here on the show is going to be the Raiders' keys to victory against the Los Angeles Chargers. And the very first one is you got to get after Easton Stick. If you're like, who the hell's Easton Stick? It's all the more reason that you got to get after him. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Chargers potentially for the rest of the year. I also know that Los Angeles on Tuesday signed Max Duggan to the active roster. So who knows? Maybe the Raiders get another backup quarterback bench, and then they end up losing to Max Duggan. We'll see what ends up happening. But to me, you got to pin your ears back. You got to make Easton Stick uncomfortable. The more and more time that you give a bad quarterback, the more that they can look like a normal quarterback. So don't give him the easy reads. Take away the checkdowns. Get up in his face. Make life difficult. Easton Stick is not a good QB, bottom line. Next one here is this. The defense needs to force multiple turnovers. And this one's for 2 reasons. Also, shout out to Robert Spillane, hashtag Pro Bowl vote. But to me, I don't know how the Raiders are going to score. I'm still waiting for the Raiders to score a touchdown. It's been now, 12? You're looking at 15, 16, 17 days since the Raiders have scored a touchdown. And I think that maybe the only way that they're going to find the end zone is if it's a pick 6, maybe a fumble recovery for a touchdown. A shortened field would be something nice. But if the Raiders want to win this game, they need to force multiple turnovers, because if they win the turnover battle, they're going to win this football game, because I don't see the Chargers being good enough offensively to be able to compete with the Raiders if they force multiple turnovers. Next one is this. I want to get the ball in the hands of Davante Adams. Josh Jacobs, whether or not he plays, is not going to be 100% healthy. And Adams was clearly frustrated, as he should be, after the Raiders 3-0 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. And when you look at the way that the Chargers are built defensively, this is a team that likes to get after the quarterback. Do we understand that? We can't have another game where Aidan O'Connell gets sacked 7 times. Like, you need to have a game plan for Khalil Mack. And if Josh Jacobs is hurt, the Chargers this season are the second team, or the second worst team in the NFL, at giving up catches to the running back position. I don't want to target Amir Abdullah. I'm definitely not going to target Brandon Bolden. I don't want to target Zamir White. And if Josh Jacobs is unable to go, well, how about then we use our wide receivers in kind of like a screen game, like set up a short screen to Trey Tucker, let him cook. Set up a short slant route to Jacoby Myers, let him cook. If the Raiders do not target Davante Adams in a game that Josh Jacobs is not 100% healthy at least double-digit times, you don't even let Bo Hardegree back on. Like, you don't let him into the facility. You lock him out Jamal Adams style. It can't happen. Get the ball in Davante's hands. Get the ball into your playmakers' hands. Hell, get the ball in Michael Mayer's hands. Stretch the field on offense. This past week against Minnesota, I was almost wondering if Bo Hardegree just had Josh McDaniels in his ear the entire time, because it was nothing but dinking and dunking. Like, you're not going to beat an NFL team when all your passes are 10 yards, 5 yards. Does Aidan O'Connell need to be better? Of course he does. Aidan was terrible. Hell, I saw a quote that said, if the Raiders would have put Jimmy Garoppolo in the football game this past week against Minnesota, that he could have won this game blindfolded. I don't know if I'm going to go that far of a stretch, because Garoppolo's not good, and I'm sure that some of you are like, Mitch, the Raiders need to put Jimmy Garoppolo in the game. No, you don't. You can't put Jimmy Garoppolo in the game. If Jimmy G gets hurt, and he's hurt to a point where he can't play next year, then his contract becomes fully guaranteed. Anybody that is telling you that the Raiders should put Jimmy Garoppolo in a game, whether it's Chargers, Chiefs, Colts, the only way that that can even be a possibility is if there's a chance to make the playoffs. But, oh, wait, if you win your next 3 games, there's a chance to make the playoffs against the Broncos, you continue to roll with Aidan O'Connell. Anybody that doesn't think that the Raiders are going to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason doesn't know ball, or they're just lazy and they're not looking into it. The Raiders are going to make Jimmy Garoppolo a post-June 1st cut. You cannot put Jimmy G on the field for that reason and that reason only. Let's go to the final reason here, the final key to victory for the Silver and Black. You got to stack the box and take away the running game. Austin Eckler isn't 100% healthy, and the Chargers, because they know Eckler is going to be a free agent in the offseason, and because they know that they want to see what they have, maybe in a guy like Josh Kelly or a running back like Spiller, to just see what they have in him a little bit more. They might take it away a little bit, but you do have to stop Austin Eckler. Also, by stacking the box, I want you to take away Keenan Allen, who's been battling an injury. They don't even know if he's going to be able to play. But by stacking the box, putting 8, 9 guys in there, that tells me, like, hey, Easton Stick, you got to beat me deep. You got to try to beat me deep. And with Keenan Allen not 100% healthy, your running back game kind of in question, your offensive line being what it is, this just helps out the Raiders defense play a little bit more. This is going to be an ugly football game. Like, I'm talking, we've watched a lot of ugly games for the Raiders. We've watched a lot of ugly Thursday night games. Lots and lots of ugly. But when I hear ugly football, to me, I think PrizePicks, I think less. And we're going to go a lot more lesses on PrizePicks for this game. That I can guarantee you. But if anybody is like, you know what, Mitch, I don't even care about the Raiders and Chargers game. I'm just here for a little fantasy football advice. I know there's some people out there that do that. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. And make sure that you use code CLNS, which if you're watching this live, you can see it right now in the comments. If you're not watching it live, it's going to be available to you down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. So PrizePicks, they offer a bunch of different deals like all the time. And if you're curious what picks I am going to go with this game, I'm taking Easton Stick less than 201.5 passing yards. Aidan O'Connell less than 209.5 passing yards. Daniel Carlson, give me the more, baby. 1.5 field goals. He's making 2 at least. Keenan Allen, not 100% healthy. Less, 72.5 passing yards. And then Davante Adams. I'm hoping because Davante was ticked off, they're going to get him the football. So because of that, give me the more on Davante. And if this one doesn't hit, I am not taking more for another Raiders player the rest of the season. Mark my words. So again, easy, exciting, daily fantasy sports made easy. All you got to do is pick 2 or plus players, choose more or less. If my fiance Alex can do it in less than 60 seconds, then I promise you this, you can too. Go get started at PrizePicks.com/CLNS. You're going to get a first-time deposit match up to $100. And whether you want to do the Raiders game, maybe you want to do, there's some Saturday football this week, little Sunday football, a lot of college bowl games coming up. NBA, they have it all. PrizePicks is an absolute game changer. Now, next up here on the show, I got 5 questions around Thursday Night Football. When I think of the burning questions segment that I usually do, think of it as burning questions combined with the top trending Raiders rumors that people are going to be wondering when they wake up on Thursday before Thursday Night Football. The first one is, how healthy is Maxx Crosby on a short week? We obviously know that Mad Max has been battling a knee injury. He did say before the Vikings game that it's the most healthy that he's felt in a very long time. But now this is a short week. Was not expected to practice on Monday. Did not practice on Tuesday. I don't anticipate that he practices at all this week. But guess what? As long as that guy's got a pulse, he's going to be out there on the field. 13.5 sacks. Needs to get to 16 to tie the Raiders' single-season record for most sacks in a season. At number 2, this is important for me because it's the fantasy football playoffs. Josh Jacobs, is he going to play? And if he doesn't, what are the Raiders going to do? It was reported by Josina Anderson that the Raiders will not promote anybody from the practice squad at running back. It was also reported that they will not sign a running back, which doesn't surprise me because it's a short week. So if Jacobs was unable to go, Brandon Bolden? No. It's going to be the Zamir White, Amir Abdullah show, which that's an ugly, ugly show to watch. However, Josh is battling a thigh injury, and because he's battling a thigh and not a knee, I am hoping that you're still going to be able to see him out there in some sort of capacity. Even if he's out there, let's say they give 20 touches to the running back. The way I would do that, 10 for Jacobs, 5 for Zamir, 5 for Amir Abdullah. Coming in here at question number 3, will Kolton Miller and Andre James play in this game? Miller was unable to go against the Minnesota Vikings, was able to play against the Chiefs, unable to go, though, I want to say against the Jets, and he was unable to go, I know for a fact, against the Miami Dolphins. Andre James, though, your starting center, he left the Sunday's game battling an injury, and if he's unable to go, I anticipate the offensive line that you're going to see for the Silver and Black as follows. It's going to be at left tackle, Thayer Munford, at left guard, Jordan Meredith, at center, Dylan Parham, right guard, Greg Van Roten, and then right tackle, Jermaine Illuminor. That is if both Kolton Miller and Andre James are unable to go. Question number 4 entering this game. Tyree Wilson's best game as a pro was last week against Minnesota, and they lined him up predominantly as a defensive tackle. Now, you can move him around the interior line. You can move him onto the outside. I'm okay with it. But right now, the Raiders' best line consists of Maxx Crosby, Tyree Wilson in the middle, Malcolm Kuntz as an edge rusher. And then you rotate your defensive tackles in with John Jenkins, Adam Butler, Bilal Nichols. You figure out a rotation there. But are they going to put Tyree in the interior again? And because he's such a big and strong player, what if that's the route that they decide to use him going forward? That would be very interesting to me. Then the 5th and final question is this. Will the Raiders offense, led by Aidan O'Connell and Bo Hardegree, score this week? I've watched a lot of Raiders football games in my day, and I'm sure y'all have too. Last week was one of the most frustrated I've ever been because I'm like, what more could you ask for from your defense? What more could you potentially be looking for? And the last time we saw Aidan O'Connell play against the Chargers, it was a rough game. 24-39, 238 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 7 sacks. Was he pressured the entire game? Yes. However, though, the way that Aidan has played in his last few starts, if he plays that way, it's going to be a way, way worse of a football game. That was the first game he got some playing time and nobody had tape on him. Bo Hardegree, got to be more creative. Aidan, you just got to be better. You're not going to put out Jimmy Garoppolo. You're not going to put out Brian Hoyer on the field. You can't afford to do it. So if you want to prove that you deserve to be in this league, you better get it together because there's a lot of people out there that don't think that Aidan O'Connell is going to be even good enough to be a backup quarterback in the NFL. When I saw the over-under in this, Chugs, I about laughed my ass off. The over-under in this game is 33.5 points. The Raiders are 3-point favorites. 33.5 points. This is the lowest over-under for the Raiders the entire season. And I couldn't confirm whether or not it was the lowest over-under in this season in the NFL. I know it's definitely top 5, though. That I can guarantee you. So since PrizePicks is today's sponsor, they don't usually do over-under type of thing. So we're going to go more or less at 33.5 points scored in this game for the Chargers and the Raiders. So is there going to be more or is there going to be less points scored? My prediction in this one is, believe it or not, and as it stands right now, the Raiders and the games that they have played this season, the average combined points scored in Raiders games this year through the 13 games that they have played is 34 points. With that being said, there's no way in hell I can sit up here and say that it's going to be more. I mean, it is Easton Stick against Aidan O'Connell on a short week. I got to go the less. It's going to be an ugly football game, and I'm hoping that the better defense comes out victorious. Aidan O'Connell, to me, is probably a better quarterback than Easton Stick. It might be up for debate. but the Raiders have a better defense than the Chargers. And I do still think that the Raiders have more to play for. They're playing for their head coach. When Brandon Staley, they know he's going to get fired. All those reasons is why I do think the Raiders win this game. And if they do, you got to still be fighting for the playoffs because you still have a shot. If you win your final 4 games, the Raiders' playoff chances are actually right now, if you win your final 4, at 53%. If they lose 1 game, they are done. However, Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, man, I hate losing to division rivals. So hopefully the Raiders come out, they show that they're ready to play, and if they don't win this game, then yeah, you probably got to look at drafting a quarterback in next year's draft.